Dr. Krista Fabrick with Mesa Community College. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. So glad to be here. And I was wondering what the crowd was going to look like on the 4th of July week, right? Are a lot of people already heading out of town or things like that? So I'm glad to see a lot of faces and a wide variety of businesses. If you didn't read the description of the workshop or read my bio, I will give you just a super quick, for street credibility purposes. I'm a doctor because I'm a doctorate of business with a specialization in marketing. The only reason I got that was because I was teaching college and knew I wanted to teach college forever. I am going to be starting my third full year at Mesa Community College in August, but I was at Chandler Gilbert Community College prior to that, and I've been teaching college for 10 years. However, I've been working in marketing since 2003, so I've seen it change a lot. And as I mentioned, I have taught workshops, both paid and voluntary for community organizations like this for almost 20 years. So, and I still do actually actively work with clients. I work on a consulting limited basis with a company I used to work full-time for, doing marketing and social media consulting for them, as well as some various business coaching just to some of my former clients that still like to check in with me at least once a quarter and things like that. And I also do training for them as needed. But so there's a little bit of my street credibility for you. But this is going to be really hard to cover well in less than 45 minutes. We're supposed to touch on, they really wanted to touch on marketing and social media. And I know we have a couple people in the room that this is what you do, or you're very familiar. So, hopefully you'll maybe hear something as a refresher or just hear something in a way that you can explain to others that'll help you. But also do teach college. So I'm used to interruptions. Please type in the chat, just start talking, unmute yourself. I've taught virtual trainings for a very long time as well for business owners and their employees. So doesn't bother me. And I will happily email Bob over the slides as well, a PDF of the slides, so that for those of you that are note takers or like to go back and refer to things, that I'm more than happy to share that. So without further ado, I will go ahead and share my slides. Oh, and just so you know, I am also the program director for marketing and entrepreneurship at Mesa Community College, and this is fairly new that I got to be over the entrepreneurship part. It's something I've done before and I have a passion for, so I'll be working with career services as well as some other people at Mesa Community College to really work on internships through local businesses. So if any of you are going to be, thinking about or have ever thought about or would like to have an intern, definitely keep my name in mind because this is something I'm actively working to both help our local community and help our students. So quick overview, like I said, so it's going to be very high level and quick touch. In fact, I don't think I even have time to go over the slides that I tried to cut it down as much as I could. But marketing strategy basics, just a little bit about branding and target market, because if you don't understand those two things, nothing else really matters. Crafting your value proposition, this is definitely going to be an introduction for you, and then I would recommend you come back and think about this. And then a little bit about key social media pieces, how to be successful, because no matter what your business is, social media can be a help for you, if not for getting clients, but then for recruiting purposes. So it can help both ways. And then we'll have time for questions, hopefully. Okay. And let me open in the chat here. If you were to see this, everybody knows this logo, right? Give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat, or right. Yeah. How about this one? Right. Yep. And this one. Yep. And last but not least, this one, right? Simple icons, simple, one single letter, yet majority of people around the world and people in this country, I mean, probably 2-year-olds could recognize most of these brands at this point, right? That is the power of branding. And they all started somewhere, right? So no matter what your current size of your business is, no matter what your hopes and dreams and goals are for the size of your business in the future, branding is the key to get to be known as well as something like this, even if it's just in your community or in your city or in our state, right? If you want to be recognizable, having a strong brand is that. To show you the power of having a strong brand, here's just a little bit these two shirts. Obviously, slightly different lighting, slightly different models, but gray shirt. I definitely want to hear in the chat for this. There is a difference between the two shirts in the brand name and the price. The shirt on the left, and the shirt on the right, I want you guys just guess, put in two numbers of what you think they might cost. Okay, William, $79.99, $200 and $8. Oh, Christopher's seen an exercise like this before, hasn't he? Left 15, right 40. Okay. 50, 10, 29.79. Okay, seeing all kinds of interesting guesses. This is the power of branding. The one on the left, which most of you actually guessed was cheaper, is a Brunello Cucinelli t-shirt. And I verified this because I just used this in my class in like early May. It is actually $295 still on their website on Nordstrom.com on Bloomingdale's. Gray t-shirt, right? But people buy this unbranded gray t-shirt because they believe in the brand itself. So once again, doesn't do the dishes, right, Derek? I wish. Um, you know, the average person walking by either one of these gentlemen in real life would never know that there's an almost $300 difference in price, right? But the people who are buying it, they know, they believe in the brand, they believe in the quality, they believe in whatever the style is, the fit, etc. And so they are willing to spend that amount of money on it. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how powerful having a strong brand can be. And it really is the driving force behind loyalty and recognition. So just to make sure, because people think of branding as a lot of things, oh, like a logo is my brand. Well, yes, it's part of your brand, but it's who your company is. It's your brand personality, your brand voice, and your brand purpose, your company purpose. So all of those things work together to be your brand. And when you know what your brand voice is, and I say brand voice and personality, if you're not familiar with that, let me go back to this really quick. This is things like if you've ever, I'm gonna forget his name, but the accountant said he's the only accountant with personality. If that's actually true, right? If you truly do have a more boisterous or bubbly or engaging personality than your average accountant, that should be part of your branding, right? Your brand. The business I still work part-time for is all about home services, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. And I have companies who have, super bright green branding because there are younger owners and younger techs and they're more energetic and they have their techs wear green bow ties and suspenders and, things like that. So you think of HVAC, it has to be boring, or plumbing has to be boring, and it's always blue and kind of red maybe, or gray. But their personality of the brand was very different. And believe it or not, I've worked with a couple hundred of these companies in the last 4.5 years, and they all have totally different brand voices, of brand personality, even though they're all in the same industry. So think of like, is your brand more conservative? Is not politically speaking, but conservative as far as like maybe a little quieter, maybe a little bit shyer, a little more reserved? Is it a more outspoken brand, a bold brand? Like that, those are the types of things that can define your brand personality. And that will showcase itself in the colors you use, in the tagline that you use, in the types of adjectives you use on your website, in your emails, even your logo design. And then the brand voice kind of follows that, right? Do you have a more formal voice? Do you have a more informal voice? Sarcastic, funny? All of these things can be a part of your brand and really are what can help you be unique in a sea of competitors. Right here at Phoenix, we're one of the largest metro areas in the country. And so it's not like you're competing against, Joe and Sally down the street. You're competing most likely against hundreds, if not thousands, of other companies. So, defining your brand well and showcasing that brand personality really, really can help you stand out. However, the next thing is your target market. Let's see in the chat with a simple yes or no. Have you taken the time to define your target market? Do you know who you're trying to market to, trying to sell to? Yes. Okay, good, good. Got two yeses. Okay, good. Lots of good. So this will hopefully just be review. Working on narrowing it down right now. Okay, very good. Lots of yeses. Awesome. Okay, so for all of you that have said yes, This hopefully is maybe a little, will help you take it a step further or just be a good refresher. So, if you weren't believing in why it's important to identify your target market and your ideal customer, number one, it'll save you money. You, we are not Coca-Cola, we're not Apple, we are not Nike. We do not have hundreds of millions of dollars to work on to spend on marketing, right? Coca-Cola's marketing budget in 2024 was over $1 billion for all of their marketing and advertising, right? We're not that. We are small businesses who have to, carefully use our time and our resources. And so when you know who you're trying to market to, who you're trying to sell to, who you're trying to reach, you can be more intentional with how you spend your time, money, and resources.
Hey,
Then you can
I got a
craft
question.
yes.
Can you context that maybe a little bit in relation to Mesa Community College's brand? Like who is their target market and kind of how do they approach that?
Yeah, so that's a great one. So Mesa, Mesa Community College, of course, is a part of the larger Maricopa Community College District, which, if you're not familiar, there's 10 colleges throughout the Maricopa County area. Mesa is the second oldest, Phoenix College being the original. And so Mesa definitely has a certain branded vibe just because we have more history than most of the colleges, the community colleges around here. We're very focused on, of course, being a part of Mesa as a community college, but we're also a Hispanic serving institution. So more than 40% of our student population is identifies as Hispanic. And so that's a big part of who our target market is. We also have some of the only we have very specific workforce development programs that no other community college, in fact, no other colleges have in the country. For example, for the new chip factory that's being built, we worked with them and some other community partners and have a certificate program and an AA program to train people up. I actually oversee our beauty and wellness program, which is a unique program for people who have their esthetician, cosmetologist, et cetera, license. And we have students from all over the country for that. So we kind of have a unique targets of very broadly, of course, Mesa Community College, a little more narrow, Hispanic potential students who are in that 18 and 24-year-old traditional college age range. And then very specifically people who are looking to get to work. And so that, and once again, our brand is that we're very heavy on workforce development. More than half of our students are in some sort of what would be considered workforce development program at Mesa Community College. So does that help a little bit? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so we focus on our rich history and our kind of our proven, track record and things like that. So hopefully that helps just to see kind of where we're one bigger example, right? We do have more budget than a small business, but we actually don't have a very large marketing budget. It's very much word of mouth and social media and organic type stuff. So crafting those specific messages, kind of like I just said, hey, we know very clearly there are people who are looking for a good paying job that don't want to get a 4-year degree. So we're going to go after those people that live in the Mesa community or at least reasonably surrounding areas, right? Apache Junction, Ahwatukee, things like that. We're going to reach out to those people or write messages that's going to reach them on social media or billboards or things like that that are going to hit their pain points of they would like to get a better job to take care of themselves and their family more, or to secure their future more, to be more financially stable. And we do our messaging hits that, showcases how reasonably priced it is, right? So our specific messages from MCC are crafted around our target market. And so, it's funny because I read them and I think of like some of the things I've heard my students say whenever I see various posts or emails or even billboards, and I'm like, and it's speaking to that right audience. If you don't know who your target market is, if you haven't taken the time to understand where they spend time, what their interests are, then you don't know how to reach them. If your target market is, over 60 and you're spending all your time and energy and money on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat, you're probably not reaching that audience, or at least not very many of them, right? And so you're going to have a different choice of platforms or channels depending on who your target market is. So really knowing that will help you reach the right audience. And then competing successfully. If you MCC is actually competing against Chandler Gilbert because they're not that far away and they have some of the same programs, right? So we have to differentiate ourselves on what is our college environment like, what is our online class environment like, what are some of the unique programs we offer. And so think about that, you know, if we have two business attorneys in the room right now, right? What are some of the different types of people you might be trying to reach? Because that's a very broad field. So depending on who your target market is, you might be able to even work together versus compete against each other. But if you know who you're trying to reach, that's going to help you have a more specific message, which will help you compete more successfully. Okay. So let's see in the chat, who knows their ideal customer? And if you say yes, are you brave enough to come off mute and share a little sketch of what your ideal customer is? So this is not your target market. This is kind of that, it's, you know, Sally Smith, you know, 45, soccer mom, lives in, you know, Mesa, whatever.
Hey, Krista, Christopher Boardman, America First. I mean, we've got a lending box, so I see that out here. It's kind of what I can offer as far as banking, usually as something tied to a need for money. So what I'm usually working with is a small business that's usually doing between 500,000 and 5 million in revenue.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. And that's, you know, you maybe want to go a little more specific, see if there's any industries you know you've worked better with, right? Or things like
Yeah,
that. But it's a great, great start for an idea.
medical, and we're also looking for 2+ years in business. So it's pretty specific on what I know we can get approved. So I can kind of quickly vet on the front when I'm like when I'm doing the original presentation to see where it's going to fit and if we can even do business going forward.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Christopher. And, you know, that's perfect example of why knowing your target market can not just help with the marketing end, but it can help, you know, as you move through the customer journey process, because you're not going to waste your time if they don't fit those criteria. For you, it's really, it's a deal breaker if they don't fit that.
Or waste their time, right?
Right, right. Which wasting their time makes them mad, which can give you, you know,
Uh,
bad word of mouth, right? And bad reviews.
or that
Yeah,
me, I can take it.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Anybody else willing to share quickly who their ideal customer is?
Yeah, so for us, it's the solopreneur in the health and wellness space who absolutely wants nothing to do with their bookkeeping or their taxes. So they let us do the work. And they're also very aware they're not good business owners. So
Yeah,
they're willing to listen to our suggestions.
awesome. They're coachable.
Yes.
Very good. That's great. Very good. Good. So you guys definitely have a good understanding of the importance of this and how to do this. So, you know, if this is an exercise you've never done or you've thought about your target market, an ideal customer defining this can help you, especially if you, as you grow, if you hire a marketing company, because you can say, I would like to do an email campaign too. I would like to do an advertising campaign too. I would like to do a social media campaign. And you can name one of your specific ideal customer avatars. And so to begin, you might only have one or two, but as you grow or as you understand more who's in your customer base, you may have multiple. So, you know, you would just imagine who's that perfect customer. This doesn't have to be um, like specific target market type stuff. This is more like, you know, just you give them a name, you give them what do they do on their weekends? What are they, you know, if you're targeting businesses and it's a little bit different, right? You're going to be thinking about what is this business's goals? What are this business? What's their culture like? What's their brand personality like? So things like that. So you really just want to give this person that personality and everything so that when you're writing content or creating strategy around that, then um, uh, you can really write a message that's going to resonate with that ideal customer. So I'd like to give you all just a minute. Oh, I thought I had this slide. Maybe I have it put it later. Okay, well, we'll have a slide in a few slides. That's right. I changed up the order where I give you a minute to just jot down a few ideas if you haven't done this before. So just a refresher, if you haven't gone through this exercise, it's been a while again. When you're looking at target market, obviously the location of customer, this is going to greatly depend on who you are, what type of business you have right now. A lot of you, I think, are focusing on customers more locally. But you know, if you're focusing nationwide, internationally, that's obviously going to change where and how you market. And then demographics, this is, you know, geared towards customer focused businesses, but the same thing happens like Christopher shared with business to business is you're looking at revenue, number of employees, things like that. So these are like the black and white facts that you can find out about your potential target market. And then you have what's called the psychographic, right? This is more lifestyle and interests and things like that. So for the visual learners, I have a little cheesy graphic there, but just shows you, values, family bonds, is a good saver, NBA fan, right? Enjoys island vacations. So things like this can help you get the emotional side of your branding and marketing better to reach your target market and understand what they care about. Because your brand, if your brand has a personality, that personality, there's going to be some things like you may want to have a cause that your business cares about. And if that aligns with your target market, then they're more likely to pay attention to you. And if you're business, once again, it's going to be much more about kind of company culture and branding and company mission and vision. But it really is the same idea. So here is where I'll give you a moment, and if anybody wants to ask questions about this or type in the chat about this, definitely, but I would love to just make sure that you today, before you've left this workshop, have at least a couple ideas of what your ideal customer avatar is like. Anybody come up with anything they want to share to get feedback or anything they feel like would be helpful to others to hear? Okay, well, hopefully you got some ideas there. And hopefully that's something that you can help you with your marketing. Okay, now who has a value proposition that they've come up with for their business? Yes, type a yes or no in the chat if you would. Do you have a value proposition? There we go. Okay. We have one no. Derek's on it. Although if you're getting ready to run for corporate commission, you have to be on it because campaigning is no joke. All right, got a couple yeses, great. Well, yes, okay, so then, might be able to breeze through this and get through to the social media part quicker. But just as a reminder, value proposition is what you do well, what your prospect or potential customer really wants, and not what your competitors necessarily do well, right? Now, obviously, I'm sorry, I got to plug in my computer here real quick. Obviously, that is not, it's a combination of all of the things that makes it something that your competitors don't do very well. But if you can define this, that'll be the foundation of your marketing. So it's the value your company promises to deliver to customers if they choose to do business with you. It provides a declaration of an intent that introduces a company's brand by telling consumers what you stand for, how you operate, and why you deserve their business. And then this key portion of brand's identity can be the guiding force of all touch points. So this is really the foundation. You get a brand, and then you have this. This is part of your brand, but this also goes on into the rest of your marketing. And you're going to use it, everywhere. Like obviously not the exact value proposition statement, but this will be the foundation of all of your communications, both external and internal. And so a value proposition statement would be for target customers. So like for Mesa Community College, we could say for Mesa residents 18 and 24 years old, who statement of need opportunity need an affordable education that will help them get to work. Our various associate's degrees are, a community college education, and that will help you get your degree faster for a reasonable price and help you get to work sooner. So there, there's an example of a value proposition statement. And so this simple formula, if you've never done this, I'm going to give you a minute to do this, just like with the ideal customer sketch, because this is so powerful. Because, this is something that could take a little bit of work to do in depth and do right, because maybe you haven't defined exactly how you want to say each of these things before. But this is definitely a powerful statement to help you define your brand, define your marketing message, and be able to start getting that word out there. So I'm going to give you just a moment again, a moment of silence here. If you have never done this, or if you want to relook at what you do have, type out or write down a few ideas for what this first draft of this statement might look like. Okay, now, if anybody has previously had one or thought of something now, would you be willing to share, or would you like to talk through it for some help as an example for everybody to learn from?
I'll jump in.
All right.
So I'm thinking more of your Venn diagram picture.
Yeah.
So what our clients want is to not have to deal with the burden of their bookkeeping or their taxes. What we provide is we provide the technical skill, knowledge, and experience to support them so that they never have to touch it again.
Yep.
And what we do differently is we don't just do the accounting. We will meet with our clients to talk about the emotional journey they're taking in their entrepreneurial experience and talk feelings and stress and help them feel better, to the point that many of our clients don't want to talk about the numbers. They just trust us. They want the therapy session, and we're happy to provide it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you basically just did the statement just a little bit, less structured, but you hit all the points in there. So that's very clear, right? And so what kind of marketing, I'm going to pick on you just for a minute, Derek, since you have a good handle on this. What kind of marketing do you currently do? Like, do you have websites, social media, email campaigns?
We a lot of just kind of starting conversations on LinkedIn. Recently, what's been really successful is just going to non-business events. So we just picked up a new client because I was at a trivia night online
Wow.
and had the background up. And they're like, "You're an accountant? I need one of those." And so then just
Awesome.
casually leading to conversations.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So as you decide to, if you decide to, market more, get that message out, that you have the clear message. That is the foundation of anything you would do for a website or any kind of marketing campaign, right? So, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else have any questions on that, or want to share what they have to get some help or feedback, or to be a good example?
I'll chime in there.
Uh,
I'll go by your format. For health conscious adults aged 25 to 60 are frustrated with generic results or generic diets and unsustainable weight loss programs, BioBuddy Wellness and Weight Loss is a medically supervised, personalized wellness solution that delivers sustainable fat loss, improved energy, long-term lifestyle change through science-backed treatments and one-on-one support. There you go.
Now, have you done that before, like some sort of version of that?
Yeah, I've got several businesses. This is
Okay, yeah, yeah. So this is old hat to you.
it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I enjoyed this.
Good, good. Yeah, no, that was exactly it. And then now hopefully you all can see between those two examples how that can be the foundation for a strong brand and for all of your marketing messaging, and that those words, that language will in some way appear in any type of marketing you do, hopefully, because if you do that, people will know exactly what you're about. Okay, so that is we have just a little bit of time left to go over the social media basics. So first, I want to know, I'm going to give you two stats. 71% of consumers who had a good social media service experience with a brand, meaning they interacted with the brand somehow, had a question, had a need, whatever, are likely to recommend it to others. So that's a huge thing. And then I don't know what a generation everybody is, but I am a Gen X, and Gen Xers are actually on social media a lot. And 7 in 10 of us are more likely to make purchases from brands they follow on social media, right? You feel more familiar with them. So if you're not doing social media in some way, I highly recommend it for a variety of reasons. And hopefully these stats give you a little bit of push in that right direction. And by the way, LinkedIn is a fabulous social media platform, especially for a B2B. So that I'm including that in this conversation here. So if you're willing to share in the chat quickly, just a quick yes or no. If you have a single social media profile at all, yes would be you would want to put a yes for your business. And if you're willing to type out quickly, like what platforms, some of you may be on one, some of you may be on many, just to kind of get an idea of where we're all at. LinkedIn. Okay, awesome. So far, just a couple yeses and LinkedIn. Oh, I love it. Mark, I just saw your chat. What you say and how many times you say it is the only thing that works in marketing and advertising today. Repetition builds reputation. Love that. So, so true. Okay, Ray, you have Facebook and Insta, which is perfect, obviously, for your business. And I'm guessing the other ones are all, I think, yeah, from hearing what you guys do, you're all business to business, so that makes sense. Okay. Funny enough, I teach social media classes, obviously, in the college. And what I tell every single class I have taught in social media for almost 10 years now is if you do no other social media platform well for your own personal brand, do LinkedIn, right? So it's really good for consumers too. But so here, all of you probably have good familiarity, but I know small businesses are always wondering how to do better on social media, right? And I do want to preface this with I've written a social media textbook. I did my dissertation on social media. I teach social media. I consult on social media. I use it a lot. But should never be the only thing you're doing for your business, right? It is rented land. Instagram could ban your account tomorrow. Facebook could ban your account tomorrow. LinkedIn could shut down tomorrow. So make sure you are at least building an email list from your followers, if at all possible, even on LinkedIn. Or make sure you have some sort of even a simple one-page website that's your space. And definitely be looking at other avenues of marketing, traditional event marketing, face-to-face marketing, direct mail, email, whatever it might be. But so many business owners get sucked into social media should be the only thing I'm doing because maybe it's working really well. That's great. But I strongly recommend that you have a few other eggs in that basket. So we already talked about target market, but once you know that, then you can figure out where they're most likely to be on social media. And that's where you probably want to focus your time on. You should definitely have goals for being on social media. So many small businesses just, oh, I need to have a Facebook and an Instagram and a LinkedIn, and I'm here, and we're just randomly posting, but they have no idea why they're actually there. So think about what's your goal for being there, because that's going to drive how much time and effort you spend on it. That's going to drive the type of content you post and how frequently you're going to post. Then you want to choose your platforms. If you are the only one doing your social media marketing, and or you have maybe an employee who has another job in your business, but they're helping with social media, more than 2 platforms, at least to start, can be very overwhelming. So I strongly recommend you just pick 1 or 2 that are going to be the best fit for you and your business to reach your target customers, and focus on 1 or 2 just to start. Once you're comfortable and have a rhythm going, feel free to keep adding. But and once again, basically figuring out what platforms make sense to reach your target audience, what platforms are you or whoever's going to be handling your social media comfortable with. Because if you're trying to be on TikTok and you don't want to get on camera, and you're not comfortable with editing, and you're not comfortable catching trends, and you're not going to do well on there unless you're going to pay somebody else to do it for you, right? Which then comes to, you have to think about your budget. right? How much time and energy do you have or money do you have to spend on creating content for monitoring comments, things like that. So that'll make a difference on what you choose. And then of course your overall strategy. We talked about the value proposition, which is the foundation of your branding and your key messages. That's also going to then relay here on social media. When you're working on social media, you should have a couple of key messages that you are consistently posting about. And so, you know, even if you're business to business, you can be talking about messaging for educating about your industry or about your business. So like in the HVAC world, right? You can be educating about how to get the most efficient use out of your system, or when to change your filters, or how to find the right HVAC company to work with, things like that. And then, or you could be focusing on, if your business, like maybe you're trying to have messaging for your partners, potential vendors you work with, and your potential clients would be different ones. For Ray, for example, right, your messaging might be a little bit about just healthy lifestyles overall, just trying to kind of get that, show that you guys are, you know, understand how nutrition and fitness fits into an overall healthy lifestyle. But then at the same time, of course, you're going to definitely be having those content pillars of what your services you offer and why it's important to be healthy in those ways. Ray, would you mind sharing briefly? Have you done this? Do you kind of have a few little categories that you know you always post about?
There you go. I think I lost you for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Ray?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I lost you for a bit. It was frozen. So your question again?
I was gonna say is, do you currently have a few different categories that you know you're creating content around for
Yeah,
social media?
I've always been a believer of providing a ton of value. So a lot of educational stuff regarding wellness and weight loss. Kind of the things to look out for. Certain personality types, attracting those that have been frustrated. So when you say being very specific, it's more I believe in adding a ton of value, and then they come searching for you, because then you become the expert in the space.
Yeah.
You become the
Yeah.
go-to. You give a ton of value, and most places don't do that because they feel like, if I'm giving too much, why would they come to me? My
Right.
philosophy is a little bit different. Give them a ton of information, and why when we become the expert in that space, they're going to always want to come to me because I've established that credibility. So
Yes. Yes. And you know, that's a great example. Who's heard of Gary V? Gary Vaynerchuk, right? I have a love-hate relationship with Gary V. But he back in 2009, he wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And that was actually the first textbook I used for a social media class way back in 2016, because it was still so valid about that. And he talks about that. You have to give, 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 give. Then you ask. And so that is a great attitude, Ray. And I'm sure why you said you've had multiple business. I'm sure you're doing well. And that's those key messages. That's where you're going to be giving that value, right? You're not just promoting. And I do have a rule of thumb for you on another slide, but I'll say it now. 80% of the content you post on social media should be providing value. No more than 20% should be self-serving and promotional. So you do have to sell at some point, and you do have to promote your products and services, saying what you offer, but you definitely have to be giving value over and over and over again. And then you definitely need to be looking at what your competition is doing, right? What are they talking about? What are their key messages? So that you make sure that you understand how to stand out compared to them. So we're running out of time, so I won't take the time to do this, but I'd highly encourage you, if you have not actually written out what are your two to three key messages that you're going to focus on, and this can work for all of your marketing, of course, but specifically for social media, you don't want to talk about the same thing every time you post. You do need to have a variety of key messages. And I strongly urge you, if you want to be consistency, and kind of like the quote of, you know, repetition builds reputation, consistency. Without that, you have nothing, especially on social media. You have to, whether it's going to be once a week or once a day, whatever you pick, stick with it. And that the algorithms will get to like you, your potential customers, your audience will get to know and like you better. They will be more likely to see more of your content as well. So a content calendar could be really simple, just a list It could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be a fancy, a fancy calendar. It could be a fancy tool, whatever works for you. But at least make a simple plan of, I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Facebook. I'm going to post, Monday through Friday on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm going to send 5 messages a day on LinkedIn, something like that. And then make sure you're scheduling every single day to do something. It doesn't have to be all of the things every day. In fact, I recommend you batch your content creation, right? Do that in blocks of time to be more efficient. But you should be at least checking in on comments and messages once a day. You should be, engaging a little bit. So if you make that a habit, you can definitely, that consistency will become a lot easier.
Krista, what's your take on AI? Because AI can do all that for everybody, right? So AI can design your content creation and the different segments of value add to ask for, action. And then they can also obviously create that calendar so you can be very succinct. And it'll also respond and reply, as well as receive all of the intake inquiries and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's super powerful.
Yes. And I have a slide to talk about quickly, but I will address it now because I know we're running out of time too. I use AI all day, every day. I've been using AI for probably about 3 years. I caught my first student using it in the fall of 2022. So that's when I was like, oh crap, I better really get on this. I had already been dabbling a little bit in learning. I believe in all the automation. Like I use for one of my little side businesses, I use the automated DM replies and send the link and things like that. What I don't want you to lose is the personality, right? The brand personality, the human touch. I believe in using AI, and this is what I'm seeing across the industry, right? Using AI, one person I follow who I respect highly thinks the sky is falling as far as AI, and the creative agency and marketing is just going to be completely done by AI in the next 5 to 10 years. But for now, I think automate where appropriate with using AI tools, using AI for idea generation. Hey, give me my list. You have to tell depending on which. I use a combination of Claude Perplexity and ChatGPT Pro for this kind of stuff. But like once you've told it all about your brand, your business, things like that, let it get to know who you are, who your target audience is. You can even help it have you find your target audience, by the way. I have that as an assignment in my marketing class. Then you can say, I would like a schedule of LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn messages, Facebook posts, Instagram, whatever, Instagram reels for the next 30 days, posting this many times. Give me the ideas. Then you can go in and say, okay, great. Today I'd like to create a reel for Instagram. Here's the idea that you gave me. Please give me, an engaging and informative caption with a call to action. Then you take that and you edit it because it has to have that human touch. People can still tell when it's not authentic to your brand, when, it's getting harder to tell when it's all AI generated. But for the writing part, I so strongly believe in, and many people in the industry believe in, having that human touch a little bit, but absolutely use AI to help you with all of the things. As far as creating the images and the video, depends on your brand, depends on what you're trying to do, right? But if you can do that to help you save a lot of time and be more consistent, then that's amazing. That being said, you should be creating different content for Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, right? Because they're all different target audiences and different content works well on those different platforms. So that was a really quick AI overview, but anybody else have any questions or thoughts on that? Anybody else using AI for their marketing right now? Yeah, okay. So this creates the content, right? The AI can help you with all of this, but you definitely still need to be working on it a little bit from Christopher. Yeah. So it's kind of and Ray, you correct me if I'm wrong but everybody I've talked to is you kind of dabble, and then all of a sudden you're just head in, all in, and it becomes a part of your workflow, right?
Yeah, I think once you get a taste of it, it's going to change your whole world, your perspective, everything. I
Yeah.
mean, truly there isn't anything I can think of that it wouldn't do for you, from creating a still of your picture, Krista, to making you talk and move
Yep.
with your own voice. So
Yep.
you call my clinic and you'll be talking to an AI. You wouldn't
Yep.
have
Yep.
a clue. You wouldn't have a clue if it's my AI agent.
Yep. I
So,
have a lot of clients who are using AI answering services as well, like for
right?
customer service. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're able to scale, I mean, literally 10, 20, 30x your production because of it. So it's
Yep.
amazing. I mean, like you said, I think it's still important to have a human element, human touch to it. But, and again, like you said, it'll be harder and harder to tell.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And the key with AI, of course, is knowing which tools work the best and prompting well, right? So that's why you start with dabbling.
Well,
Uh,
prompting is really critical because it's going to learn and it become basically essentially I call this it's able to clone yourself. You
yeah.
can download everything. I can download all, 1,000 pages of documents and have it review. And now my attorney friends are like, I'm just having them review the final document because I've had it review this, 500-page document and find all of the things that, are pertinent to what I'm needing it for, and then my attorney just look over it real quick. So now I'm not having to pay hours and hours of attorney fees for it. So when you talk about AI taking over many, many jobs, that's one of the biggest pieces for me.
Yeah.
So, but prompting is really critical because it starts to learn and it starts to get better and better. And I'll leave one quick thing is we all did a copy and paste on a prompt, every single one of us. The output will be entirely different for every one of us because it knows your style. So yours might come out as a paragraph form, mine comes out bulleted outline form because it knows that's my tendency and the style when I write email and stuff. So it's amazing.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick because we are getting right to the line. So I'm going to give Krista a chance to wrap, and then I'll say a couple things and we'll get you out of here.
Sounds good. Yep. So there's the 80/20 rule, which I already talked, and we are near the end of mine too. So that's good. So remember, just, don't just sell, sell, sell. You have to give information, entertainment, education. Here's my my AI slide, so you guys can read that later since if Ray and I went back and forth too quick on that for you. And don't post in ghost, right? And if you use AI for that, that's okay. But just engage with your followers. Make sure you're especially responding to comments and questions and DMs. 89% of direct messages to businesses across all social media platforms go unanswered. So if you answer your DMs, you're going to stand out to your customers and potential customers. Make sure you're taking a look to make if you have multiple profiles, that you are not looking schizophrenic as a brand, right? Your different profiles and different platforms, different places, that you're matching up with usernames, with feeling. And if you're not tracking and measuring, if you're not looking at analytics, you're doing yourself a major disservice and potentially losing out on customers or employees because you're not paying attention to what works and what does not, and when's a good time to post, and if that platform is worth your time. So definitely make sure you're doing that. And there you go. Wrapped it up real quick.
Cool. Thank you so much. I did just post Krista's profile for MCC on the MCC website in the chat. So you are absolutely welcome if you want to check in with her and have additional discussion around AI or some of the other topics, what have you. I would normally go around and give everybody a chance to kind of check in on what's going on in their world, but I do think we're over time at this point, and I apologize for that. But that being said, I think it was a fantastic meeting. Thank you all for being here today. Look for the invite for next month's meeting, and I apologize, I don't have the list of speakers in front of me to know who that is, but I will include that in the invitation on Outlook. So, again, thank you everybody for being here today. I hope you had a great time. I know we did. Krista, thank you so much for joining us. It was
Thank you all for having
fantastic
me.
having you. And that's it. I'll let you guys get back to the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you. And definitely feel free to reach out to me if I can help with the internships and things.